This Airbus A320 has just taken off. But the next second, the plane crashed and 2 engines went out at the same time. The original wonderful journey turned into a life-and-death struggle. Facing such a terrible situation, can the crew save all passengers? Where will the fate of this plane go? Let's go back to the day of the incident. January the 15th, 2009, the Tacoma International Airport, which is located at 1549 flight deck in LaGuardia Airport, New York, flew to Seattle. There were 15 passengers and 5 crew on board that day. The captain of the cockpit is Chesley Saliborge, who is 57 years old. He is a talented pilot, who is a famous father and a genius pilot. He got a license for a private jet at the age of 16. He also served as the instructor of the F-4 fighter squad during the Air Force service at the age of 22. He became one of the top pilots in the United States. He has a flight experience of 19,663 hours so far. He was mainly responsible for monitoring the weather forecast that day. The co-pilot is Jeffers Gills, 49 years old. The accumulated flight time is more than 20,000 hours. The pilot experience is also very rich. He was also in charge of the direct flight that day. The plane's name is Conquer 320. This is a short-range jet-powered jet aircraft. At 3:24 p.m., Flight 1549 took off from LaGuardia Airport. It took off in the direction of the airport, heading northeast. 2 minutes later, Flight 1549 took off over Hudson and Shanghai. The scenery along the way and the tall building in New York City are very attractive. But soon, trouble came. The captain found a group of big smoke in front of him. Because the distance was too close, and the plane was more than 400 kilometers in speed, Flight 1549 was unable to avoid a collision with a flock of migratory birds. The plane's fuselage was violently shaken, although only the left engine exploded. The crew found that both engines were in slow motion due to the emergency. The captain immediately took over the plane from the co-pilot. He asked the co-pilot to look over the pilot's manual to find a solution. At the same time, the captain also issued an emergency call to the tower. It burns. We've lost thrust in both engines. We're turning back towards LaGuardia. Okay, you need to return to LaGuardia. Turn left, heading 220. And in the process of returning, the 2 crew members tried to restart the engine. Although the pilot's manual shows that the best way to restart the engine is to set the speed to 560 kilometers per hour. Obviously, the current speed is far from enough. But they have no other way. The captain pushed the throttle randomly. But the speed did not increase. This means that the engine is still spinning. Restart failed. After noticing the abnormality of the plane, the passengers in the cabin were also frightened. The tower called the crew again, indicating that they could return to LaGuardia Airport. The 13th runway and the 31st runway of the airport can be landed. But the captain rejected to return after assessing the current state of the plane, because the plane is only 426 meters away from the ground, and both engines of the plane have stopped. The plane may crash at any time, not to mention the return. So the captain made an unexpected decision. Brace for impact. It was only 3 minutes away from the crash. During this time, the crew tried to restart the engine many times, but failed. So the captain made a decision to adopt a space history. You can land one way one at Peterborough. Can't do it. We're gonna be in the Hudson. I am sorry. Say again. Cactus. No wonder the airport was so shocked. The water surface crash may cause the plane to disintegrate and increase the difficulty of rescue in general. It will cause greater damage than landing on land, and before that, no large aircraft has been able to complete the crash on the water. Looking at the development of the entire aviation, the success rate of the water surface crash is only 0.8%. And this decision by Captain Sally also brought him a lot of controversy at this time. The plane is only a few 10 meters above the river. We're gonna brace, pull up, all right. In the end, the 1549 plane landed with the fuselage, successfully let the plane land at perfect speed and angle. This great captain created history. But the crisis is not over. Hudson River is more than 20 meters deep. The cold river is constantly flowing into the cabin. The plane may sink at any time. Everyone must evacuate quickly. And under the command of Captain Sally, the crew began to evacuate the passengers urgently, and let the elderly and women board the plane first to wait for rescue. The temperature in New York was below 0 on that day. The water temperature is also close to 0. If you don't move quickly to a safe place, passengers may experience a loss of temperature. Even if you sink into the river with the plane, 5 minutes later, the Zek Duran, who was in charge of Hudson River, arrived first. The U.S. Coast Guard was also followed. In just 10 minutes, all 153 people on the 1549 plane were safely transferred to the shore until the last moment. The captain and the co-pilot still held their positions. They searched the cabin twice to make sure that no passengers were left behind. The whole American Aircraft 1549 plane. The whole American Aircraft 1549 plane. Broadcasted the whole American aircraft. Captain Sally became the hero of this miracle. At the same time, the U.S. National Transportation Safety Commission immediately intervened in the investigation. After they loaded the plane onto the shore, they immediately retrieved the recording data of the cabin. It turned out that the 1549 plane did have a bird's nest crash, and the crew also correctly executed the emergency response program. But the investigator did not explain why the two advanced engines on the Conquer 320 were so vulnerable in front of the bird's nest. What you need to know is that the engine was already considered at the beginning of the design. Many experiments have also proven that the engine operates under extreme conditions. If it is a small bird crash, it will not have any effect. And when the investigator saw the miserable screen inside the engine, he immediately found the reason for the engine to stop. As a result, they found 29 birds' nests in the left engine. There are also 14 in the right engine. After DNA comparison, it was found that this is a large bird of local body size. One can easily exceed 1.55. The large number of body sizes cannot even hold the advanced engine. Can the double-engine parking car explain it? The investigator continued to listen to the driver's cabin recording. After they found the crash, Captain Sally was very decisive to take over the control of the plane and started the auxiliary power device in the first time. Today's mainstream large-scale technology is equipped with this device. Once the engine stops running, all the equipment on the plane will be in a state of stop, and the auxiliary power system is used to maintain the engine that works normally. This also provides security for the subsequent crash, from the crash to the collision. Even if the alarm goes off, the two pilots are still calm, each has his own responsibility. Even if the plane hit the river, there was no panic. The crew performed perfectly in this accident. But the investigator still has a question in his heart: is the 1549 plane crash really the best choice in Hudson River? To verify whether Captain Sally's choice is questionable, the investigator decided to test the 1549 plane with a flying simulator. Can it successfully return to LaGuardia Airport or Teterboro Airport under the same circumstances? Did the 13th simulation succeed? Based on the data, the return to the airport was successful, but there is a professional task within Captain Sally. When the investigator simulated the flight, he already knew the best flight route. After hearing the flight instructor's instructions, he could carry out the return to the airport without hesitation. The cooperation between the crew and the flight instructor is perfect. Can such a test result really make people convinced? It is not a machine to know the pilot who is flying the plane. People need a certain amount of time to react when they encounter an emergency. Obviously, the investigators did not consider this. Finally, under the advice of relevant experts, they were hit by the plane and stayed between the operation of returning to the airport for 35 seconds. The final test result was the same as everyone expected. None of the 100 tests succeeded. They even fell to the city many times. If this is the case, it will bring more casualties. This is enough to say that Captain Sally's insistence on landing on Hudson River is extremely correct. The investigators later learned that the rescue ship could be rescued in a short time. After the 1549 plane crashed, it was because Captain Sally landed in the direction of the Jinyang Wangyong Buren. So after the plane crashed, the surrounding ships could only be rescued in a short few minutes. In fact, after the rescue, this accident, Quaymay Airlines not only refunded the ticket fees to all passengers, but also compensated $5,000. But some passengers were not satisfied and insisted on suing Quaymay Airlines. In the end, Quaymay Airlines added the compensation to $10,000 before it stopped. In order to prevent such accidents from happening again, US authorities killed 70,000 migratory birds in a few years and installed more advanced bird detection radars near the airport.